Good afternoon, Tiger fans. We are live from Trinity University Football Stadium in San Antonio, Texas, where the undefeated Trinity Tigers are ready to host their SAA rival, the Hendrix College Warriors. I'm Brian Yanselson, and I'm joined by Josh Mochigemba for the first time this season. Josh, it's great to have you here.
Hey, Brian, thanks. Great to be here, and should be a fun, interesting game here for Trinity. Big game with Hendrix having been their last loss, but 2021, a completely different scenario here in the fall than it was in the springtime. As Trinity comes in now 6-0, Hendrix just 1-6.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned Hendrix beating the Tigers on their home turf last spring, 13-3, but certainly two very different ball clubs this season. Tigers really riding high, ranked 19th in Division III and coming off a big road victory over Suwannee. Hendrix, a squad that's been heading in the opposite direction, just one victory on the year over that same Suwannee squad, but nonetheless should be a great one. Beautiful weather here in San Antonio, 71 degrees and not a cloud in sight. Could not be more excited to bring this one to you on Tiger Network. A very exciting day on campus. Had a swimming and diving meet this morning. Now football kicking off at noon. Volleyball at home at 1 and 7 p.m. And some concerts going on as well. Orchestra up in Ruth Taylor Hall and Waka Flocka on the intramural field later today. So a busy day for the Trinity Tigers all over campus. And we are just about set for kickoff here in San Antonio. You've got two Stewarts back to receive the kick, Chris and BJ. And this one goes to Chris Stewart, who had a big day in the punt return game last week. And he breaks through this one, and he gets across midfield and dragged out of the sideline there. But a nice return by Stewart to start this one off. And Stewart, the reigning SAA Special Teams Player of the Week, had over 160 return yards on punts last week in Tennessee, and he picks up right where he left off on that one.
Yeah, Trinity with a high-flying offense, as we'll see here coming up on this drive, but when you've got a return game like you do with Stewart, it is just more deadly, and that's one of the reasons why they've been able to put up 60 points in a game multiple times this year.
This first play from scrimmage, a handoff to Winston Hutchison, and he breaks a tackle and gets a first down. Hutchison, the leading runner for the Tigers this year, and really a position that going into the season, the Tigers were a little bit worried about losing Michael Edmondson, but Hutchison has done a great job filling in.
Yeah, and usually we like to see a big play out of Hutchison, especially here at home on the first drive, and he almost had it there again.
And here Hutchison gets the ball again and fights for a few yards, so a couple of positive plays on the ground for the Tigers. It'll be 2nd down and 6. Tigers already on the 23 of the Warriors. Horn back to pass for the first time, and he slings it to the back of the end zone. That'll fall incomplete, so a nice effort there from BJ Stewart, but the pass just out of bounds. So that'll bring up 3rd and 6 for the Tigers. Hendrix looking to come up with a big stop on this first drive. Hendrix coming off a loss at home against Barry, 42-21, but the score a little bit misleading. They were pretty competitive throughout the game, including being down 14-7 and 20-14 just out of the half. Horn gets this pass to Caleb Crawford on the side, but he is stopped short of the line to gain, so the Warriors come up with a stop on 3rd down. We'll see if the Tigers elect to go for it, as they have so many times this season.
Well, pitch and catch, but Hendrix all over it. And a good read from the defense early on. I would imagine Trinity will be going for it here. 4th down, only about 4 or 5 yards. Not completely out of field goal range, but early in the game, a little bit of momentum going. If you get a completion, or if you get a good block, you're going to get the first down here, most likely.
Tigers snap it on 4th and 4. Horn to his right looking for a man, and he has a man, but that pass is caught right near the line to gain, and that is a first down. So a bunch of Warriors there around Stewart, but he was able to come up with that big catch and a first down for the Tigers.
Yeah, fourth and 4. Like I said, I mean, you're gonna coach all of your receivers to go past the line to gain. So if he's able to get the completion there, pretty much what we expected for the first down. Now it starts to get a little bit tricky as the defense is able to sit in the box a little bit closer here down in the red zone. Now you've really got to start and execute everything perfectly if you're Trinity's offense.
And you mentioned they might have been in field goal range for that 4th down, but P.J. Hensley has just attempted 4 field goals on the year. Tigers very willing to go for it on 4th down and working out for them early here. An empty backfield for Horn as Hutchison goes wide left. And Stewart at the bottom of your screen goes in motion, and Horn looking that way to his right, now scrambling, and gets it to Caleb Crawford there around the 5, and so he completes that pass.
Yeah, Crawford, I don't know if he was trying to set a block for Stewart on the in-motion play, but he goes down here early off that little shove there from the defender, well within the 5 yards. But then that sets him up. He's almost forgotten about, and he's just left wide open there, right near the sideline. That'll pick up everything but 2 here for the first down.
And a couple names not on the field that we're used to seeing down in the red zone, especially Austin Burtness and Ryan Merrifield, the 2 leading receivers for the Tigers. Instead, you've got Chris Stewart and Cole Monago at the top of your screen. Horn hands this one off to Hutchison, and he gets a couple of yards and the yards necessary to keep the chains moving. That'll be another Tigers first down, making it 1st and goal.
Yeah, 1st and goal now, and solid drive here now, over a little bit over 4 minutes here for the Tigers. And I thought the Warriors have looked pretty solid. They haven't given up the huge play, but Trinity still able just to chop at the first downs and a couple of 3rd down and 4th down conversions, and 1st and goal. And
Horn able to complete that pass to Cole Monago for the touchdown. So you mentioned a great opening drive for the Tigers, methodically driving down the field and putting points up in a hurry. You see Horn has plenty of time here. Had Stewart going outside and Monago cutting inside, and he was able to find Cole right there. Blake Lynn on for the extra point, and the Tigers up 7-0 early on here as the confetti blast from the stands. Excited to have fans back in the stands this year, and Tiger fans have had plenty to cheer about this year.
yeah, strong start to the season here, now 6-0. Tied for the SAA lead and the automatic playoff berth. You've got Birmingham Southern coming in at 7-0, and that's Trinity's opponent next week. I was a little, not necessarily worried or concerned, but just curious as to how Trinity would approach and come out with that game looming on the schedule, and that'll be in Alabama next weekend. You're basically playing for the title, if you take care of business today. And so, it was just a little bit of curiosity that I had to see how the team would come out. And I think first drive showed that the offense, at least, it wasn't as crisp as some of the early drives that we've seen throughout the season here, especially the home games. But I thought that, the way that they handled themselves, especially with the conversions on 3rd and 4th down, I think they kind of showed that they're not looking ahead. And I don't think they care too much about what happened last year either.
And that kick goes over the head of the return team and just settled in the end zone for a touchback. That was Jason Smith there back to receive it. So the Hendrix will take over at their own 25. And I think you're right, Josh, something that Coach Urban talked a lot about this week in our meeting. Just really trying not to look ahead and also not trying to look back at last season, with Hendrix having come into San Antonio, defeating the Tigers 13-3. But Coach Urban, not a fan of what you might call a revenge game, doesn't like the energy being out of focus and out of discipline, just wants the team to focus on the opponent at hand. And that first play for the Warriors not going anywhere as Matthew Willis meets the man in the backfield. Anthony Johnson with the first carry.
Tackle for loss, and the Trinity defense is looking as good as it has, I'd say, in the past, maybe this whole century. You go all the way back to the teams that, early 2000s that were, national playoff contenders year in and year out, and the defenses there were pretty stout. But in another play that's going absolutely nowhere, this defense just sort of has all of that kind of wrapped into one. They lead the nation in points against per game. And you can kind of see why here. Just fantastic awareness. They get to the ball quickly, and they're pretty well disciplined as well.
Yeah, and that was a big tackle in the backfield by James Ogunrin, forcing now a 3rd and 16. Josh mentioned Tigers, the number 1 scoring defense in all Division III, allowing just 5.67 points a game. They have been absolutely stout on defense. Hunter Holden trying to find a man here, driven back and unable to complete it to Anthony Johnson. So a quick 3 and out for the Warriors.
Yeah, and if you're Hendrix, if nothing else, even if you don't score on this drive, the one thing you didn't want to do is have a 3 and out, give the offense a chance to get back out onto the field and extend already a 7-0 lead. On that last play there, and he had quite a few guys open, but just that intensity and the quarterback hurry, just, you feel like you're going to be rushed into a decision here, and you don't want to throw the pick down in this area because then you're possibly giving the ball back into the red zone on a return. Hendrix is going to find a way to at least come out. And that one touches Trinity, and that one's a live ball, and that will be, I believe it's going to come back to where it was picked up, but that one definitely touched the Trinity, the blocker that was down there, number 86. And
yeah, Tyson Cornett there running into Stewart. You see Stewart calling for the fair catch.
Yeah, so they can't advance it by rule, and so it will be Hendrix ball right at the 45.
Tough break there for the Tigers.
Well, what you can't do on offense, look at your special teams to see if they can help out. And not only does that move the ball down the field, but it gives another 3 downs at least for Hendrix. And that's kind of what I was saying. You want to keep the Trinity offense off the field, even if you come away with just 3, or if you can, get 7, that'd be great. But even if you don't get those and you're shut out here on this drive, if you can take off another 2 or 3 minutes with the continuation here, that would be a big step forward for Hendrix.
So now a second chance for Holden and the Warriors. That pass completed to Jason Smith. Was going to mention after that first 3 and out that Coach Urban really setting specific goals that the Tigers can meet within a game beyond just winning, as they've been playing these games that they've won over Swanee and Millsaps by a decent amount. So not looking at just the scoreboard, but rather the individual goals within the game. And that pass by Holden completed for a first down, taking a big hit there.
Yeah, Harmel with the big hit, but impressive catch and able to hold on to it with that hit. It did everything right on the catch, secured it, turned upfield, and then braced himself as that tackle came in, and just an absolute textbook tackle there from Harmel. I think both sides played that one absolutely perfectly.
Yeah, but Jax Johnson able to come up with the first down, and now the handoff to Johnson. And he breaks a couple of tackles and gets a good gain on first down. So some momentum here for the Warriors after that turnover on the punt. But a flag on the field. And we'll see where this one will be going.
Yeah, I didn't see it live. Let's see if we see it here on the replay. Thinking it might have been a hold. I didn't see that, though. We'll see what he calls. Yeah. And I think our replay cut off just a tad before that happened, but you could kind of see it with the blocking going on right there, and as he shoved his defender downward. So that will put Hendrix squarely inside the red zone at the 14. And exactly what they needed is, like, they're now into positive yardage overall after that run.
So the Warriors, after having to give it up, now suddenly in the red zone, and Holden goes to the end zone and completes a touchdown. A beautiful pass there by Holden to the back of the end zone.
I think we're going to get a late hit on the quarterback, going high and low. And so the turnover on special teams just barely touched it, but Hendrix responds in a big way. Jewett was going low, and Ezra Gore was coming high. And that's just one of those unfortunate penalties where I don't think Gore had any idea that Jewett was already down low, and that will take place on the kickoff as Hendrix attempts to tie here with the extra point.
The extra point by Ellis is good, and so this game is tied early in the first quarter. A nice job by Hendrix responding to the touchdown by the Tigers. We'll take a quick break on Tiger Network. Be right back. Welcome back to Tiger Network. We've got a tied ball game here halfway through the first quarter, and a little squib kick here as the Warriors get to kick off from midfield after a couple of Tiger penalties. Chris Stewart will just kneel that one in the end zone for a touchback. Warriors coming off a strong touchdown drive. Jason Stith, wide receiver from Little Rock, Arkansas, freshman, coming up with that touchdown for the Warriors. So if you're just tuning in, Tigers taking their first drive down the field, scoring a touchdown. Cole Manego with the reception. And then the Tigers came up with a 3-and-out, but on the punt, came off a Tiger and allowed the Warriors to pick it up right where he left it at the 40, put him in prime scoring position, and the Warriors taking advantage of it. So now 7-7, Horn and the Tigers back on offense. He hands this one off to Hutchison, and Hutchison gets about 6 on that carry, so everything has been positive on the ground for the Tigers.
Yeah, and Hutchinson, that was his 5th carry, now up to 25 yards on the game.
Hutchison had 27 carries earlier this year against Barry in a game that they really relied on him to chew out the clock. So he's really put this running game on his back, though the likes of Legend Grigsby and Gerald Daniels have come in, done a nice job filling in, as well as another completion here to Cole Manego. So Manego with a touchdown and now a first down conversion there.
Yeah, nice little route by Manego. Cut it off cleanly, got in front of the defender. It was good closing coverage there from Hendrix, but Manego was able to hold on, and second catch of the game. And for Horn, now 5 for 6 on the day.
This play action pass out to B.J. Stewart. near the sideline, gets a couple of yards, but the Hendrix defense is there to wrap him up.
Looks like they'll give him 2 for that one, so it'll be 2nd and 8.
Still no Merrifield or Burtness in at receiver for the Tigers.
And so we mentioned Tucker Horn now 6 of 7, but only for 33 yards. Hasn't really had the big over-the-top play.
Looking to go a little bit deeper here, and he has Manego once again near the sideline. A nice catch, getting his feet in bounds and completing another first down. So Manego, the go-to receiver so far today, already 3 receptions, a touchdown, and about 26 yards on the day.
And if you're a Tiger fan and you notice that Burtness and Merrifield are not out there, but then you see Manego making plays like that, that's got to feel good because you lose 2 very good wide receivers on the day if they're not able to play.
And Horn pumps this one and has Stewart open for a touchdown. Horn doing a nice job fooling the Hendrix defense and had Stewart wide open. And so the Tigers come roaring back with a touchdown of their own, take the lead once again.
Yeah, just beautifully thrown ball and excellent running there from Stewart. And he can move down the field, winning the Special Teams Player of the Week award last week. And I thought he also had a pretty decent shot at maybe winning Offensive Player of the Week award as well. And now with a big-time touchdown, 39 yards on that play. Maybe setting the stage up again to make another run at it.
Yeah, I think you're right. He had 4 touchdowns on the day in Suwannee. 2 of those were on punt returns, which gave him the Special Teams Player of the Week award. But he did have 2 receiving touchdowns, including a 49-yard reception. Had 5 total receptions for 117 yards. So Chris Stewart really having a breakout game, and I was lucky enough to speak with him earlier this week as he did win that SAA award. And he could definitely feel a breakout game coming. He mentioned having just 2 touchdowns before the game, before breaking out with 4. And he just looked to seize on his opportunities, knew if he kept working at it and remaining patient that the results would come. And they obviously did in that game up in Suwannee. And now they're showing up here in San Antonio. Stewart, the 5th-year senior, super seniors as we like to call him here at Trinity, and taking full advantage of an extra season on campus.
That last drive by Trinity, 5 plays, 75 yards, took 2:23 off the clock. Tucker Horn 4 for 4 for 69 yards. They also had 6 yards on a rush by Hutchinson to start the drive.
And the kicking team does a nice job covering that one. Ends up what would have been a touchback anyway. So the Warriors will take over at their own 25. Warriors doing what many teams have not been able to do before, and that's score on this Tigers defense. Tigers had allowed a total of 34 points across 6 games, including 2 shutouts against Millsaps and McAllister. So every point that a team can put up on this Tigers defense is an impressive one.
Yeah, and only Texas Lutheran able to score on the Tigers twice. They had 14 back in the second game of the season. We'll see if the Hendrix offense has more to come, but they're holding 4 for 5 on the day, just 19 yards, but did have that beauty back post touchdown pass on the last drive. First play here is a handoff, and that'll gain 3. Anthony Johnson with the run. So we tick down to under 5 here in the first quarter. Tiger offense and their defense, the score differential as that run gains maybe 2 yards. The score differential is so vast that you can go all the way back to the first half against McAllister in the first game. Tigers scored 43 points in that first half, and right now they've only given up 41 combined in every game. 6 and almost a quarter throughout the rest of the season. So their defense has just been phenomenal, and their offense is putting up points when they need to and getting everything done offensively. So it has been a joyous year here for Trinity's football team, and the likes of which we've seen coming. Well, we've had roadblocks, we've had stumbles the last couple of years, and this team just kind of putting it all together We'll see what the rest of the season holds, as that one is incomplete. So it's nearly picked off, bouncing around off the defender's hands. Ezra Gore in coverage there for Trinity.
And a great job by the Tigers defense after allowing that touchdown on the last drive, stepping up and coming up with a 3-and-out. Couple of uncharacteristic penalties as well on the drive that resulted in a Warriors touchdown. So that drive looking a lot more like the Tigers defense we're used to.
I'll date myself here, but Ezra Gore with the Braves in the World Series giving me that whole Brian Jordan, Deion Sanders vibe, the football-baseball hybrid, and coming up with a huge play.
And this punt caught cleanly by Stewart after the fumble on the previous one. Tigers happy to see that. Flag is out on the field, as we so often see on these quote-unquote special teams play.
That one looked like area of blocking it back, and you see it there at the top of the screen, trying to get in front of the defender, and I think that's where the flags. Oh, maybe they unsportsmanlike after the dead ball on the push down. We'll see what they end up calling.
And Coach Urban talking to the officials.
Definitely on Trinity, so they'll be moving backwards, but. And that one's tough, because if it's not a fair catch, that's a block. And I don't know if the whistles were blowing loud enough, because that was maybe just 1 second after the fair catch was made. But it'll push Trinity back down to the 23. And that's where they'll start. They didn't really have a problem here last time. 5 for 5 on their plays going towards, or 4 for 4 in the air with a rush. 5 plays, 75 yards, 2.5 minutes. And they've got a little bit more yardage to go here if they want to repeat that.
Horn hands this one off. Hutchison once again gets a good carry on first down. But you couldn't quite see it on your screens here, but seeing Coach Urban take to the sideline and talk to his team, especially Trey King there, responsible for that penalty on the punt return, no doubt telling the team to calm down. You can certainly feel the emotions riding high in this game. Hendrix, the last team to beat the Tigers last spring, 13-3 here in San Antonio. So clearly a team that the Tigers want to beat, but trying to keep those emotions in check. Horn fakes this to Hutchison and gets it out to Stewart, who has some open field ahead of him. Makes a couple of men miss and gets out for a first down at the 41. So Stewart doing a nice job with some room ahead of him. And that's the second time we've seen him get a little bubble screen there on the side.
First down, Tigers on the 41.
Second catch. Excuse me, now third catch of the day for B.J. Stewart. 23 yards total.
Horn back to pass again. Tries to float it over the Hendrix defense, and he gets it to Hutchison. So a nice job by Horn getting some finesse on that pass to get it over the Hendrix defense and to the arms of Hutchison, who, as a running back, you see there on the little wheel route, has done a nice job as a receiver as well. A couple of touchdowns through the air.
Tigers just missing a touchdown on that one. If that one was put about 4 or 5 yards out in front of Hutchinson, I think he's able to catch that one in stride.
And after that catch, Hutchison taking a little bit of a breather. Got Jathan Royal, the first year from Lake Charles, Louisiana, in as running back. And Royal, someone the coaches have been very impressed with. Urban mentioning that he's been mostly on the development squad, so getting a lot of reps. And when he asks his coaches who has been putting in the work and who's performing the best on that development team, Royal's name has come up a lot. And that's resulted in some carries in games, including 6 consecutive ones against Center a couple of weeks ago. Lots of running backs getting looks here this year. Horn fakes it to Royal and gets it out to Manego again. Reception number 4 for Cole Manego. That'll be another Tigers first down.
Yeah, another nice route here by Monego.
It is first down on the 22.
Separates off the defender and just creates a little pocket there for Horn to fire it into. And when you've got receivers that are able to do that for you, it's easy to go 11 for 12 for 137 already here in the first quarter.
Absolutely. Horn doing a great job finding the open receiver, and he has an empty backfield here. 3 receivers to his right, 1 to his left, and now Royal joining him in the backfield.
Play clock was down to 4. Trinity will take their first timeout. 31 seconds left here in the half. I think we'll take it with them. We'll be right back here on the Tiger Network.
First down on the 22.
Welcome back to Tiger Network after a quick timeout. Tigers have it on Hendrix's 22-yard line. Royal in motion, and Horn back to pass, escapes some pressure, trying to direct traffic, and he has an open man and completes it for the touchdown. That is tight end Marshall Fish, the senior from Belton, Texas, getting open as Horn scrambles, and he has a touchdown for the Tigers, his first of the year.
3 touchdowns now for Tucker Horn on the day, and good concentration after the initial bobble. And way to hold on to it for Fish after that. And Tigers waiting for a kicker, waiting for a holder. Play clock's at 4. See if they get it off. They just do. And a lot of drama for 1 point. The Tigers will take it. 2-touchdown lead here in the first quarter.
And very interesting, even on these point after attempts, some new names. Blake Lynn kicking that one. And that's after last week in Swanee, starting kicker PJ Hensley actually broke a school record with 9 extra points. But we have yet to see him today. Lynn taking those extra points from him. And we also are seeing some new names catching touchdowns. Cole Monego and Marshall Fish joining Chris Stewart as the Tigers with receiving touchdowns. So Coach Urban and the Tigers diving into the depth that they have on this roster, doing a good job responding to that early adversity with Hendrix scoring off of the turnover, now up 2 touchdowns, 21-7.
Yeah, and that drive almost identical to the one before it. Horn was 4 for 4, this time 70 yards instead of 69. And they had 2 rushes for 6 yards instead of 1. So back-to-back 75 and 76-yard drives, both taking about 2.5 to 3.5 minutes, ending in Tucker Horn passing touchdowns.
And that touchdown for Marshall Fish, actually the first receiving touchdown of his career. So the senior from Belton coming up big in a season that has everything going right for the Tigers. They rally there and stop the return at the Hendrix 19. Hendrix, a team that has had a surprisingly down season. They were picked 3rd in the SAA ahead of this season by the opposing coaches. So expectations were high for this Warriors football team that went to the conference championship last spring. They came just a point short of beating Barry. They had a missed extra point with 4 minutes left in the fourth quarter. That was all that separated them from overtime in the SAA title game. And now 7th in the SAA, just unable to get momentum going. Coach Buck Buchanan said post-game against Barry that just a lot of things and a lot of balls bouncing the wrong way this year, have had some close losses, and that they're trying to keep working hard and try to get those balls bouncing in their way and work hard until they do. But the first quarter now coming to an end. Tigers up 21-7. We'll be right back on Tiger Network to bring you the second quarter from San Antonio.
Second quarter, here we go.
See the big difference in yards, 191-35, and a 2-1 possession advantage here for the Tigers, but 21-7 on the scoreboard, and Hendrix with the ball, so not out of the game just yet, and it's only the start of the second quarter, so Tiger fans not wanting to get ahead of themselves here, and it's a second down rush. Bring up third and about 3.
Not only do the Tigers not allow very many points this year, they also don't allow very many first downs. The second fewest first downs allowed in the country, second only to Delaware Valley. 58 first downs coming into today. So the Warriors got a couple on their first drive, but then went 3 and out, and Tigers looking to come up with a similar stop here. 3rd and 3. They rush just 4 and Holden back to pass, but that one falls incomplete. Trying to get that one to Johnson, but unable to hang on to it, so a 4th down for the Warriors.
Trey King in coverage, and he might have gotten there just a touch early. But nothing called against him, and once again Stewart back to receive the punt. I'd be very surprised if we see any trickery here from Hendrix basically inside the 30 and almost inside the 25.
And there is no trickery, and Childress gets that one way up in the air. Stewart calls a fair catch. And that punt coming from Childress, who also happens to be their leading receiver and has the most touchdowns in the SAA. So very skilled punter there.
Another special teams flag, this one thrown in what I would imagine is the area of block in the back. Once again, it's sitting at the 46-yard line.
Unsportsmanlike conduct.
Nope.
15. Be a 15-yard penalty from the end of the kick. Automatic first down.
So unsportsmanlike conduct on Hendrix, so that will move Trinity forward. That one called. That's Nathan Hahn, sophomore linebacker. Didn't see anything happen on the field. I'm guessing it's just more of the continuation of these blocks as they've been called now 2 or 3 times. The only other unsportsmanlike that I saw that was, I believe they called the late hit on the quarterback unsportsmanlike because it was a high-low hit. That one's really the only one that I saw that wasn't a continuation of a play. So 1st and 10 here for Trinity.
Warren back to pass on this first down play, and Stewart cuts back and has that one for a gain of about 8.
Chris Stewart.
Warriors just not able to get any pressure today on Horn.
46.
Now 13 for 14 on the day. That's a completion percentage of 93%. And coming into today's game, Horn's completion percentage of 70% would be the best in school history. And he's done nothing but increase that percentage as he gets another completion out to Stewart. This time BJ Stewart to the right.
It's now 14 in a row, so 14 to 15. He missed his first one. And since then, 14 in a row. A lot of them have been these quick passes, but he has taken the time to go over the top 3 or 4 times today.
This time Horn hands it off to Hutchison. Hutchison gets a couple of yards there on the first down carry.
Trinity mixing it up well. That'll gain 4 yards on first down, so it makes an easy 2nd and 6. And we've seen some good variety out of the Trinity offense so far. You've got a good ground game with Hutchison. And when Royal came in, he spelled him a little bit and had a 4-yard gain. But they're getting positive yardage through the ground that allows them to really spread out the receivers. They can go short, they can go over the top when Hendrix decides to press. And here we'll see a play maybe up over the top. And that's going to be the first incompletion since the opening pass here from Horn. In and out of the hands of Manego.
And a nice route there run by Manego. Turned around right in time for Horn's pass, just unable to keep it in his hands there. But it was a tough catch there going to the ground. So now a 3rd and 6 for the Tigers. They're at the Hendrix 36, so we've seen so many times before this becomes 4-down territory if they're not able to get it on 3rd down. Hendrix showing a little bit of pressure. Now they back off. And Hutchison stopped in the backfield. So the Hendrix defense doing a nice job not falling for that draw play. They force a 4th down. We'll see what the Tigers do here. No punting team coming out quite yet. So Horn and the Tigers look to be going for it here on 4th and 7. Nice Hendrix crowd opposite our side of the field that traveled down from Conway, Arkansas, making some noise. Horn, plenty of time, steps up in the pocket, goes deep, and completes it to BJ Stewart for the touchdown. So why go for 7 yards when you can get 37 yards and a touchdown? Horn with the beautiful pass. But a late penalty now as the crowd realizes it at the same time as I do. We'll see if this one will come back.
Judging by everybody's reaction, it is coming back for holding.
Number 71, offense. 10 yards from the previous spot. Repeat, 4th down.
So now I believe we'll see the punt team. And a big holding call here will wipe off the points from the board and give the ball back to Hendrix.
Yeah, tough holding penalty there on number 71, John Hughes. First time we see Eli Gaiman on the field. And Gaiman gets it away, bounces it at the 10, and rolls to the goal line. Did the Tigers get there in time? It looks like they did. Ball is being spotted at the 1. An excellent job by the Tigers.
I think they're going to roll a touchback. Nope, they're going to let that stand.
And it looks like that was number 16, Azariah Anderson, among a few Tigers that rushed to get that one, but he was the one that fell on it.
And the other official came in. I thought he was going to overrule for a second, saying that that he saw it go into the end zone, but that replay clearly showed that the Side judge had a great look at it.
And so now a big opportunity for this Tigers defense. Warriors have to be careful with it at their own 1. They run it here and able to get out of their own end zone, just getting it to the line of scrimmage.
Get a yard or 2 maybe. I think you're going to have to see that again one more time here on 2nd down, because Trinity's already shown that they can get into the backfield tackles for losses. So you want to give yourself probably about 4 or 5 yards breathing room. Try something on 3rd down.
And you see right there the quarterback Holden signaling to the sideline. Play clock at 8. Seems to be some confusion here for the Warriors. Now down to 5. They do get the play off. And once again, a run out of their own end zone.
Yeah, I think the runner was down, but ball came out at the end. Hendrix will remain with it, and it'll be 3rd and 7. But those 3 extra yards that they gained probably be just enough to let them attempt a pass here without too much trepidation, because if you're trying to attempt a pass from the 1 yard line, a holding call in the end zone is going to result in a safety. And Trinity brings the house on that. Your chances of holding are going to go up significantly. So a little bit more breathing room now for the Warriors. And they're still going to hand it off. And that one's fumbled.
Comes loose, and the Tigers jump all over it. So the Warriors opting to go conservative with it, not passing out of their own end zone, but still disaster strikes as a fumble recovered by the Tigers has them in business. We'll see the replay right here. Looks like it was Harmel that came in with the punch, and Michael Jewett coming up with the recovery.
And 1st and goal now for Trinity. Ball on the 6. Their last play on offense was touchdown negated for a holding call.
Now their next play on offense, looking to go to Chris Stewart, who was unable to complete that reception, and a flag was thrown as he was running towards that corner.
The offensive pass interference, and looked like more, I don't think it was a clear out move on the play, but he extended the arms well into the end zone.
15-yard penalty to the previous spot. Repeat, 1st down.
And I think they're actually calling that on Manego, who you saw was cutting inside, probably calling a pick play there to get Stewart open.
Yeah, in real time I thought he had pushed off a little bit, but definitely looks like they called it on the pick, and that one's a little suspect.
Yeah, it didn't really look like Manego was doing much other than running his route, but the referees pushed the Tigers back to the 22-yard line. So now Hendrix with a little more breathing room defensively. Horn with a screen pass to Stewart, and he has blockers ahead. Stewart making his way to the 1 yard line, just short of the goal line. And now the referee coming in from the bottom sideline saying that's a touchdown. So we'll see.
Yep, touchdown.
And that's ruled a touchdown. So Chris Stewart taking that screen pass from the 22 and making it all the way to the end zone. So forget that offensive pass interference penalty hurting the Tigers. They're able to capitalize on this field position and now up 3 scores to 1.
Yeah, just fantastic. I mean, this is where having a receiver who's your return guy really helps out, because just able to have the vision to see that all the way down. And he may have been down short of the end zone, but they granted him the touchdown, and it's now 28-7 here for the Tigers.
Yeah, very interesting there. The side judge coming in, ruling that defiantly a touchdown after the initial call was down at the 1. That extra point from Lynn, who we mentioned not always kicking the extra points, was no good. So the Tigers up 27-7 about halfway through this second quarter. We'll take a quick break on Tiger Network. very quick timeout there. After Lin missed that extra point, he sends this kickoff away. Fair catch called by the Warriors, and they'll start once again at their own 25. Tiger faithful making some noise, thought they saw something there, but no flags on the field. Plenty of energy in this one. Tigers got off to a quick start, up 7-0, but Hendrix stormed back right away to tie it up at 7. But since then, the Tigers have scored 20 unanswered.
By rule, we place the 25-yard line.
Hunter Holden and the Warriors will take over at the 25, a much more comfortable position than what they faced just a bit ago, backed up against their own end zone, where the Tigers forced a fumble and recovered it, allowing them to have prime field position for their 4th touchdown of the afternoon. After a good start for this Warriors offense, they have been kept in check, so we'll see if they can get anything going as Holden escapes some pressure, steps up in the pocket, and completes that pass across the middle.
Hendrix with a 16 and an 18 on offense. Hard to tell from up here. I think that's 18 on the catch.
That is number 18, Chris Childress. We mentioned not only does the punting for this Warriors team, but has had an exceptional year as receiver, has 11 touchdowns to lead the conference, and you see just how big he is down here going up against Malik Ross. Holden, though, there on that one, forced to just throw it away.
Yeah, 2 really good plays here by Holden on those last 2. One, the completion over the middle, and then the decision to throw that one away. Really helping Hendrix right now, and a really good drive right here for Hendrix would be to take about 4 or 5 more minutes off this clock, go down, get some points. Leave Trinity with just a little bit of time. They don't try to double up. Hendrix will get the ball in the second half.
But if you can see at the bottom of your screen, Malik Ross guarding Childress. Childress 6'4" and Ross 5'8". But that's not going to matter here as Matthew Willis gets in the backfield and takes down Holden for a sack.
Everett Gore with the initial quarterback hurry. Probably won't get credit for a half sack, but he should. Look at this. Comes right through, unblocked, and that forces Holden to scramble basically right into Willis.
So now 3rd and 20 for the Warriors. After a first down completion, had them looking better on this drive than before. They're now backed up once again. This Tigers defense allowing just 54 yards to the Warriors today. Holden back to pass and nearly intercepted by Ross. That could have easily gone back for 6 the other way. Instead, it'll be a 4th down, and we'll see Childress punting once again.
Yeah, Holden fortunate that he floated that one high, because if he left that low, that was going to be taken by Ross, who read that one completely from the start. And fortunate for Ross that he got his hands on it, because if he doesn't, then that one's probably caught for some pretty big yardage. I don't know if they would have gotten all 20 out of it, but it would have been really close.
Another booming punt by Childress. This one's not going to get to Stewart. It'll bounce back and end up at the Tigers' 36-yard line.
And got a flag down by the punter. Holding.
For 15, the receiving team.
And that'll be on Trinity, but it was after the punt, so it'll just go backwards from where that run out of bounds.
That is penalty number 5 for the Tigers, and something that Coach Urban mentioned as one of the goals last week against Swanee. So we talked a little bit earlier about how in games like these that the Tigers have done a good job taking advantage of the opponent, and now actually the referee comes in and says the holding penalty was on Hendrix, so not a fifth penalty on the Tigers, but nonetheless, Urban talking about how rather than just winning the goal, they are really looking to more specific goals in the game, some objectives that they're working towards to continue getting better as they continue their undefeated season, and one of those is limiting penalty yardage. And so that one going against Hendrix, but 4 penalties for 54 yards against the Tigers so far, including some unsportsmanlike conduct penalties that they'll want to get rid of in the future, as Hutchison takes the first carry of this drive for a nice gain of about 6 or 7. So another positive start to a drive for the Tigers. Tucker Horn, 15 for 17 throwing, 195 yards and 4 touchdowns. 2 of those going to Chris Stewart, who has had another phenomenal game after winning SAA Special Teams Player of the Week last week. Stewart really coming on midway through this season as Horn escapes pressure and is able to get the first down with his leg. So Horn, not someone we see run a whole lot, getting that first down there.
And
if you're a Tiger fan, somebody you don't want to see running a whole lot either. Is able to get the play and get the first down, but I'm sure Tiger fans may have had a little bit of holding your breath type of mentality on that one, as he didn't slide down, went for the extra yardage. The numbers he's put up this year have just been absolutely fantastic. And I mentioned the defense going back to some of those teams from the late 90s, early 2000s, and really haven't seen quarterback play like this since about that same time.
It's just incredible the ease with which he gets rid of the ball so quickly, and these Tiger receivers have so much room to run. That one going to Caleb Crawford, and he gets 9 on first down, making this a 2nd down and 1. And we've seen Horn go deep around this part of the field, especially on 2nd and short. We'll see. Has 4 receivers out there. Horn does have plenty of time, and he does look to Manego, who goes down and gets that one for the first down. So Manego dropping a similar one to that just on the last drive, and now this one gets his arms underneath it and comes up with a nice reception. Manego with his 5th reception of the afternoon. He leads Tigers receivers, also has 66 yards and a touchdown.
Coming into the day, Tucker Horn on the year, 130 for 185, as you mentioned, 70% completion percentage. Almost 1,600 yards at 1,564. That's an average of 261 a game and 8.5 per attempt. But the big number that really stands out to me here is the 23 touchdowns compared to just 1 pick on the season, and you can now make that 27 touchdowns to just 1 pick on the year. Just highly efficient running the Trinity offense.
Absolutely, and you never want to jinx anything, but they're just one of 6 teams the Tigers are with only that 1 interception, so doing a great job keeping the football as Horn forced to escape pressure again. So the Warriors, for the first time all afternoon, getting a little bit of pressure to Horn, but still Horn able to get a couple of yards to keep that a positive play.
I like the decision to keep it here, as it looks like he may have had a thought of going to Stewart out there in the flat. That could have been disastrous with everything else going on. He decides just to hold on to it, moves it forward for 2 yards, knowing that it's going to be 2nd down. Have another chance at it here. 4.5 to play here. First half.
A trick play here as Hutchison flips it to Stewart, and Horn with the block, making the way for Stewart, who has another touchdown for the Tigers. So Tigers going deep into their playbook, having a little fun here. Hutchison taking the handoff from Horn, flipping it back to Stewart, and Stewart had plenty of room to rumble into the end zone.
2nd rushing touchdown on the year for Stewart.
This extra point is good from Blake Lynn, and it might be in honor of Halloween that Chris Stewart decided to get a rushing touchdown. He did tell me in my interview that he's going to be dressing up as Ezekiel Elliott, so I think he's harnessing a little bit of Elliott's running game there.
Definitely eating touchdowns right now. Top 25 action, RPI on top of Ithaca, 7-3. It's Washington Jefferson 21-7 over Grove City. Salisbury 14, Christopher Newport 0. Delaware Valley, a team that we mentioned earlier, is the tops in Division III on not allowing conversions on first down with their defense. They're up 14-0 on Lebanon Valley. And Muhlenberg 20-3 over Franklin and Marshall. Union over Hobart 10-0. Johns Hopkins over Susquehanna 24-0. Cortland on top of Alfred 19-0. UMHB on top of Bellhaven 7-0. That one's midway through the second. Marietta on top of Baldwin Wallace 14-0. Those are the only scores so far today in the top 25. And around the SAA, there's some action about to be kicking off. We've got games noon Central 1, 2, and 3. So an hour in between all of them. So for those of you jumping out of here on the SAA, with halftime approaching, thanks for watching. For the rest of you, still got a good half left here of Trinity and Hendrix.
Yeah, and there will be a good matchup down in Rome, Georgia, as Birmingham Southern travels to face Berry. Mentioned Birmingham Southern also ranked in the top 25, undefeated on the year, and what should be a big matchup next week in Birmingham between the Panthers and the Tigers. But first, both these teams need to get past their respective opponents, and I know Birmingham Southern does not have an easy one against Berry today, so will be interesting to keep track of that one.
Yeah, that one's 2 o'clock Central, 3 o'clock Eastern. But 34-7 here, Trinity on top. This looks similar to pretty much the rest of the Trinity games from the season so far. A lot of offense and the defense stepping up.
And you might think that as the score gets away from the Warriors, that this Tigers defense might let up as some guys come off the bench, but in talking with Coach Urban, that absolutely is never the case. They are always looking to keep a strong, disciplined approach on defense. Their slogan, "Be the Standard," applies at all times during the game, no matter who is in, no matter what the score is. And so they're currently holding Hendrix to under 60 yards of offense, and they'll look to continue that as Holden had a man there open, but just overthrowing it to Jay White, the wide receiver there. Had a couple of steps on the Tigers secondary, but Holden unable to connect with him. So a 3rd and 7.
Like the play call, the execution wasn't there, but got to go for something when you've got a chance, especially down 27 here in the first half. Hendrix offense, it just hasn't been able to put drives together. I mean, Hunter Holden not particularly bad on the day, 6 of 12, and he's missed his last 2, but 45 yards and a touchdown.
And Johnson able to get past the Tigers defense there. Nice job breaking loose for a first down. You saw Michael Jewett coming around the corner, but on that run play, running past Johnson, and then a gun run unable to bring him down. So just the 5th first down for Hendrix, and some movement on the line there. Looks like Hendrix trying to go quickly, but didn't look to be quite set. We'll see what the referees say.
Last run by Johnson. Double the yardage they normally have. Or that they had through this point in the game. They had 10 rushes for 12 yards, and that one was for 12.
But after that positive play, driven back by a false start penalty. So a 1st and 15 for Hendrix. Holden facing pressure again. Harris good, trying to track him down. And that pass falls incomplete, trying to get it to Childress once again. But nothing doing there. Hendrix Warriors coming down from Conway, Arkansas. Happens to be the hometown of former Cleveland Browns running back Peyton Hillis. So as you mentioned, their performance on the ground, they could use some Peyton Hillis right about now. Of course, Hillis famously on the cover of Madden 12 beat out Michael Vick in a fan voting contest. The pride of Conway, Arkansas.
And for Denver Bronco fans, a dagger into the memory of the 2009-2010 years of Josh McDaniels and the controversy between Hillis and McDaniels. Such a promising young start to his career, the running back out of Arkansas. Warriors could use a little bit more pounding on the ground game like Hillis had back in his career.
And that short pass that Holden was just trying to get away quickly on 3rd and 15, dropped by the tight end Connor Beard there. Didn't have much of a chance to go far as Jeremy Irving there from the secondary was coming to meet him, but nonetheless dropped by Beard. So Childress on to punt once again, and this Tiger faithful letting the defense hear it. Impressed and proud of their effort that they constantly give here on the football field, resulting in being the #1 scoring defense, which we mentioned at the top, in case you missed it, allowing just 5.6 points per game. Stewart able to come up with that punt cleanly, but a fair catch again, Hendrix trying to keep it away from Stewart after he returned 2 punts for 60 yards last week and 2 touchdowns. We'll take a quick break on Tiger Network. Tigers up 34-7. Minute 52 left in the first half. Tigers looking to close this one out on a positive. Horn still in there and still gunning it, this time to BJ Stewart, who comes up with the reception. Maybe the last we see of Horn if the script follows what we've seen in some earlier games. Horn 18 for 20 now, 234 yards, 4 touchdowns for a 90% completion percentage. And he is still back there completing this pass. Tigers sideline very happy about that one. That's Justin Carmouche coming up with the reception. Carmouche, who has battled back from injury sustained in training camp, was supposed to be one of the leading rushers for the Tigers, but just has been slow to get back. So that's why the Tigers sideline likely happy to see him out there and healthy. Horn all the time in the world looking for Manego, and just over his head.
And Manego locked in with the defensive back there. Good coverage. He was maybe worried a little bit too much about getting separation and wound up about 4 yards short of the ball. As Horn heaved it. I'd say that's the first time we've seen Horn heave it deep today. We've seen some pretty medium throws that he's aired out, but haven't seen him try to go for it all in one big play yet.
Had that touchdown called back to Stewart. That was about a 30-yard pass, and now going deep again, and some contact there on Stewart, who comes back and gets that one. A nice adjustment as the ball was in the air by BJ Stewart, who somehow came back and got that one. Looked to be some contact there, which we might be able to see on this replay. Horn.
Yeah, the duck here on the throw as it starts to wobble, and then that one almost skirting out of Stewart's hands, as that's going to go to the other Stewart, BJ, for the touchdown.
Yeah, Stewart with back-to-back completions and another screen pass, but another flag on the field.
They're going to call another pick play on this screen.
Holding, number 71, offense. 10 yards.
And holding call that wasn't needed as Stewart was already past him.
And eerily similar to the last touchdown called back, that was to Stewart, and also a holding call from John Hughes that brought it back. So Tigers now at their at the Hendrix 21, 49 seconds left in the half. Stewart unfortunately has had a couple of touchdowns called back on him, but does have 6 total receptions for 75 yards, now leads the Tigers. Horn once again connects with Manego, who reaches out across the pylon. It looks like they're going to call him just short at the 1.
Move him out to the 3. We'll get a better look here from the side view here. And I think you're right. That should be maybe closer to the 1, but it'll be second down and looks like maybe half a yard.
Carmouche in the backfield with Horn. Stewart and Manego, the receivers at the top of your screen.
Timeout, Hendrix.
Pardon snap. Timeout. Hendrix.
After that time, performances of Brown and Dash team.
During this timeout, we can take a look at some of the individual performances that have gotten the Tigers up to 34-7. Mentioned B.J. Stewart leading the way with 7 total receptions and 76 yards. Cole Manego has 6 receptions for 84 yards and a touchdown. Chris Stewart, 3 receptions and 69 yards, 2 touchdowns receiving. Also had that rushing touchdown earlier on the trick play. Marshall Fish, the tight end, coming up with his first career touchdown earlier today as well. So that's how the Tigers have gotten their points. Tucker Horn, 22 for 25, now over the 300 mark, 311 yards passing, and 4 touchdowns, 88% completion percentage, passer rating of 245. Just an outstanding day for Tucker Horn, and he'll look to possibly cap it off on his end. If they can score right here, might see Will Cheney and Ryan back in the second half. Horn hands it off to Carmouche, who initially didn't have many places to go, but does find the room there for the touchdown. Justin Carmouche with the touchdown. You see a nice job there looking for the hole and getting across the goal line for a touchdown. So the Tigers with the exclamation point going into the half as Blake Lynn looks to complete this touchdown with the extra point. He gets that one up and in, and so the Tigers up 41-7 with just 38 seconds left in the half. Some more confetti flying from the stands. Just a gorgeous day here in San Antonio, and could not ask for anything better than some Tiger football and some Tigers football with them up 41-7, wouldn't you say, Josh?
Yeah, just a fantastic fall day. Enjoy it for the 1 or 2 weeks that it's here. Playoff soccer is just around the corner, so you can imagine the weather is about to turn wet and brutal, as it always does right around the middle of November here in San Antonio. But for late October, you can't get much better than this. I think the high was supposed to be about 80, 81 degrees.
Some great trick-or-treating weather on this Halloween weekend. Tigers really putting a scare into the Warriors today.
Warriors with the appropriate colors here. They're orange and black.
Not quite as nice as the orange and black donned by the Baltimore Orioles, but orange and black nonetheless. If you want to hear more about the Baltimore Orioles, just tune in this spring for baseball season on the Tiger Network. I'm sure you'll hear a lot more about them at that point.
So the return almost out to where it would have been taken. I think this one's right on the 25 once again. Yeah, I like the decision to return it. You don't know what's going to happen. You could get a good block here or there and have a chance to break it. You're going to get it probably out to the 20 at the very least. So at the worst case scenario, you're only losing 5 yards on a return like that. The only thing you really have to worry about is keeping the penalties off the field. If you can manage that. More positives than negatives. If you can stay disciplined.
And with the scoreboard looking like it is, this will likely be the last play of the half. Just a carry that will get the clock running. And it'll take us to halftime. Would recommend perfect timing, 1 p.m. start time for volleyball. They are at home inside CalGuard Gym. So you can either take a stroll on over to the gym and catch the Tigers ranked number 2 in the country against Shriner, or you can tune in to Tiger Network. We'll be right back after about a 20-minute halftime. Tigers up over Hendrix 41-7. A standing ovation by the Tiger fans as they head to the locker room. Look forward to this second half. We'll be right back after this halftime break.
And ladies and gentlemen, there are 2 concessions.
Welcome back to Tiger Network. We are just about ready for the second half of action between the undefeated Trinity Tigers and the Hendrix College Warriors. Tigers with an explosive first half, scoring 41 points, just missing that one extra point. But the Warriors, after scoring pretty early on and putting some pressure on the Tigers responding well with 34 unanswered points. So after that adversity and some uncharacteristic penalties for the Tigers, they have recuperated and shown the team that they have been so far this year that has gotten them to 19th in Division III. They'll look to close out another SAA victory here in the second half, but the Warriors will get the ball first on offense as they try to build their way back into this one.
Yeah, Quincy Johnson with the return there, just past the 20. And that's where Hendrix will take over. They had, they'll take over a little bit further up the field, probably at the 30. Hendrix with 73 yards of offense, 45 through the air, 28 on the ground. So the ball will be placed at the 25. So basically just another one of those, we returned it, and then somehow the ball is still at the 25, as we've seen 3 times today. One of the bright spots for Hendrix, I think, has been the punting of Childress. Has just been impressed with all of his punts. They've just floated perfectly up in the air, and they get so much hang time, and then just beeline straight down from their apex. And, if you're looking for a bright spot, you don't want the punting game to necessarily always be the bright spot, but you've got a fantastic punter. And now for the offense, they gained 5 yards on first down. And Hendrix, see if they can recapture some of that drive that they picked up on their scoring play as they get the first down here. They rush to the left side.
And I think you're totally right that Childress has been a bright spot. But I think if you're the Warriors, they want to get him more involved in the receiving game. Just 2 receptions for 35 yards, and he came into today as the leading touchdown scorer for all receivers in the SAA, and he had over 500 yards receiving. And you see him at the bottom of your screen is a mismatch for these Tiger defensive backs as Holden is taken down in the backfield by Ezra Gore and Matthew Willis. So really no time to react there for Holden.
The drive started with a 5-yard pass to Jax Johnson, and then Anthony Johnson with a 5-yard run. And then you see Ezra Gore. We'll see if they give Ezra the full sack on that one.
But back to Childress, who is a 6'4 receiver. He has the height advantage over both Trey King and Malik Ross. Ross is the one guarding him right now. And that pass is intercepted by Michael Jewett. So Holden trying to go the opposite direction of Childress, and he pays for it as Jewett jumps on that pass and starts this half off on the right foot for the Tigers. They'll be in business starting in Hendrix's side of the field. And you see Holden just getting rid of that quickly, not faking out the Tigers' defense at all, and Jewett all over it. Tucker Horn back on the field. So we were wondering if we might see Will Cheney or Ryan Back coming out to start the half. But instead it is still Tucker Horn.
22 of 25 on the day, 311, 4 touchdowns in the first half.
The junior from Graham, Texas, having a spectacular year as quarterback. And he goes deep on his first pass of the half, and he completes it to Caleb Crawford for the touchdown. So the Tigers wasting no time coming out of the half, firing on all cylinders. Interception and then a touchdown. Horn with the pump fake again, as we saw earlier, and then going deep to Crawford. Crawford's been named best answer by some of his teammates. And showing up there after the touchdown. And it looks like we've got a man down in the back of the end zone for Hendrix. So
it was a defensive back on the play, and he went down trying to catch up in pursuit on the 32-yard touchdown pass to Crawford.
And it was hard to tell at first. It looked like he was just dejected from being unable to guard Crawford, but now we can tell, of course, might be a more serious injury. We hope that everything is okay. We'll take a quick break and be back on Tiger Network.
So the Hendrix defensive back, we believe the number was 25, but not certain. Ronnie McShann able to walk off. It looked like on the replay maybe just some cramps. We hope that's all it is. If you don't want anything more serious, such as a hamstring or anything else. But extra point up and good for the Tigers. They now lead 48-7. Tucker Horn, I can't imagine, will come back out after this. 23 of 26 now, 343, 5 touchdowns on the day.
Quite the message sent by the Tigers coming out of the half, already up 41-7, and then delivering an interception and a long touchdown on the first play offensively. So really laying down the hammer, as they've done so far this season with their big victories over conference foes like Swanee and Millsaps.
And 1,900 yards in the air on the season for Horn. And 28 touchdowns, just one pick on the year.
And we've talked so much about this Tigers defense that ranks number 1, but easy to forget that this Tigers offense ranking number 10 in all of Division III, scoring 46.8 points per game. So already just starting the second half over that mark. So they'll look to increase that average. But when you have this offense complementing such a strong defense, you can see why the Tigers are undefeated and ranked number 19 in the country.
Their scores are on the SAA. It's center on top of Rhodes, 28-0. That one in the third quarter, about the same duration as we are. Millsaps and Swanee just about to kick off. Actually, they have kicked off. It's Millsaps 14-6 over Swanee.
And it looks like for Hendrix, we have a new quarterback in the game. Freshman Parker Wells taking over for Hunter Holden. Wells has seen some action this year for the Warriors. He has 513 passing yards and 7 touchdowns. So the freshman has had some good playing time and will likely see the rest of this game. Holden throwing 8 for 17, 53 yards, and the 1 touchdown early on. But really was not able to have a ton of time back there, facing a ferocious defensive front by the Tigers, and now Wells experiencing that, trying to escape and throwing that one in the ground, intended for Childress. Hendrix with just 83 yards total offense, 53 in the air and 30 on the ground.
Not necessarily looking ahead too much, but the Birmingham Southern Berry game, a big game for Trinity fans. Birmingham Southern wins. That basically puts next week's game into a title showdown, and the winner will have the automatic bid for the NCAA playoffs. That one tipped and falls to the floor incomplete. As Gore with the pass breakup. Because the two teams would enter week 9 undefeated, and whoever wins that game would have a game advantage plus the tiebreaker of head-to-head. And with only one game to play, even if both teams were, or if the team that won next week were to lose, they would still have the AQ for the playoffs. So Trinity holding up its end for the showdown, and we'll see what Birmingham Southern does against Barry. And if Barry happens to pull the upset, still have an opportunity for Birmingham Southern to win the title, but they'll need to have a win and get a loss out of Trinity against Rhodes here on November 12th, or excuse me, the 13th.
Should be lots of drama at the end of this great season for the Tigers. The first time that they've been ranked by D3Football.com since 2011. The first time in Coach Jeremy Urban's tenure here. So really a fall unlike one we've seen in quite a while in San Antonio.
Yeah, cracking the top 20, and
First down on the 48.
I'd say it's been a pretty big accomplishment, both in the AFCA poll and the D3Football.com poll. The top 20 this year has pretty much been pretty solid. We've seen some teams lose in the top 20, but they're losing to other top 20 teams. So you're not seeing a whole lot of movement in or out of it. It did take until over half the season of being undefeated for Trinity to make its way in. And a fantastic bounce around pinball run there for
Second
Royal.
down and 4 on the 42.
And as we expected to come out of the half, but we didn't see on that first drive, now we do have backup quarterback Will Cheney, the senior from San Antonio, and the proud Alamo Heights alum, as I like to mention every time he comes in the game, as Royal rumbles past this Hendrix defense. And you see this toughness from Royal is what the coaches really love from him.
Yeah, put this on his highlight film here. Bounces off multiple defenders and then just carries one on his back for about 15
First
yards.
down on the 14.
Tigers 1st and 10 at the 14.
Why stop what's working? Another handoff to Royal, and he fights off a tackle. So Royal with a couple of consecutive carries here. And Coach Urban, someone who has experience in the NFL with the Seahawks and the Chiefs and the Cardinals, came up with an interesting comparison for Royal when talking with us about him. Said he's a very Maurice Jones-Drew type, with the low center of gravity and that low balance, not being afraid to put the shoulders down and run into guys. We saw that on that long run here. So Royal with a lot of promise shown in this season so far as Cheney throws the ball for the first time, completes it to Ethan Boyer.
And Cheney's first pass will be complete.
Will Cheney to
Bring
Ethan
up
Boyer.
3rd and 5.
Ethan Boyer has scored touchdowns in consecutive games. We'll see if he comes up with another one. Cheney looking that way, and Boyer does come up with the reception. Will have enough for the first down. So those chains will be moving.
Boyer for first down.
A 1st and goal from the 3.
First and goal on the 3.
No, it's King. 2 hits.
Couple of big tight ends there on the right, Fish and Noble. Carmouche in the backfield with Cheney. And Cheney, with some time now, gets out of the pocket and finds a man in the end zone. That is the tight end, Noble, who has a swing and a home run for the celebration after that one. And to Noble, finding the end zone as Cheney does a nice job escaping pressure and putting more points on the board for the Tigers.
Noble, who works in the sports information department as a photographer, of course, for the non-football games. Hopefully somebody got a great shot of him scoring the TD. The Tigers continue to pour it on here on Hendrix. 55-7. Take a timeout and be right back here on the Tiger Network.
Remaining in the 3rd quarter.
9:15 to play here, third quarter. Trinity up 55-7 on top of Hendrix. Hendrix, who played in the SAA championship game in the spring, and coming up just short against Barry. And that one, since that game, things have taken a downhill turn for the Warriors, who are the last team to beat the Tigers. Back here on this field back in February.
Yeah, it was a very strange time indeed in the world, and especially here at Trinity, not having most classes in person, living on Zoom, and not having any fans in the stands. It just did not feel the same at all. Hendrix came up with the 13-3 victory, but these are two very different squads. Hendrix losing their quarterback, running back, and two leading receivers, and Trinity losing their quarterback and running back, Wyatt Messick and Michael Edmondson, being replaced this year by Tucker Horn and Winston Hutchison primarily. So it just could not be more different from that spring game.
Yeah, I think the big difference there is Hutchison's definitely come out and not missed a beat, from a running back standpoint. And we talked about, he's got the big home run play capabilities, but he also can, pound it for 27 carries like he did against Barry, and kind of be that every down back that Trinity needs. And, Wyatt Messick was a fantastic quarterback here for the Tigers. And I don't know if anybody, watching Trinity last year or the year before, really felt that, with him being gone, Tucker Horn was going to come in. And, I'm sure that we had a lot of people with high expectations of him. But 28 touchdown passes, one pick, and leading your team to a 7-0 record, here and undefeated in conference play. That's rising above the bar for Tucker Horn. And so, Trinity's been able to get the most out of their replacements, and Hendrix, I think, is just still trying to put together some of those pieces. A team that I feel like will probably be back here, next year. See them come in with a little bit more experience through this year and, put the pieces back together, because it's kind of what they've done through the past years. They've had down years and they respond with a great year, and they have another down year and they've responded with a great year. So would not be surprised if next year we actually travel to Conway for this game for the first time in a few years. If it's a much tighter game up there.
Yeah, and this is a very young matchup for these two teams. This is only the 5th time that Hendrix has played Trinity all time. The teams have split their previous 4 matchups. But Hendrix suspending their football program after the 1960 season and didn't reintroduce it until 2013. At the time, their president said it was a progressive decision that would perhaps lead to more academic perfection at Hendrix College. And so for 52 years, no football was to be played in Conway, Arkansas. But in 2013, the Warriors took the field once again under the direction of head coach Buck Buchanan, who remains the coach of the Warriors. Buchanan has overseen the return of this program and had several winning seasons since the Warriors have been back in SAA play. So definitely something that should be a good matchup for years to come as these two teams get more familiar with one another.
40, defense, 15 yards from previous spot, automatic, first down.
A personal foul called here on the Tigers. That's number 40, Cade Rabson, sophomore from the Woodlands. Tigers had several penalties early on in the game that were pretty unlike them. A couple unsportsmanlike conduct penalties, especially when the Warriors were able to tie this game up at 7. But since then, the Tigers have not looked back, scoring 48 unanswered points.
Oh, Jack.
The Warriors are putting together a nice little drive here. Nice run by Chase Taylor on first down, getting about 5. Taylor, the freshman running back from Ponder, Texas, so native Texan getting to come back home, playing against Trinity. Speaking of Texas, Trinity, we've talked a lot about, being undefeated. Only 5 teams in the entire state of Texas across NCAA divisions remain undefeated, and 2 of them are right here in the great Alamo City. The UTSA Roadrunners having a spectacular season across town, ranked in the top 25 for their first time in program history.
Pass complete to
The other
Christian
undefeated
Madison.
teams in Texas, SMU, Mary Hardin-Baylor, and Sam Houston State. So some great football going on in San Antonio. Been great to cheer on the Roadrunners and the Tigers at the same time.
Down the 31.
And the Roadrunners have a big matchup next week as they're off today. Have a big matchup against UT El Paso.
Finally, what they've been doing.
Another Texas team out there far west of us.
Handoff to Chase Taylor is tackled by Mac Douglas.
UTSA with a couple of good games left on their schedule. Already bowl eligible, but trying to see if they can't get a much better bowl than where they're initially slotted. And Trinity looking to make the postseason for the first time in, as you mentioned, just about a decade.
I'm thinking Fiesta Bowl for the Roadrunners. They could be the top-ranked Group of 5 team. As that pass from Wells to Childress is completed. A nice throw there from the freshman to Chris Childress, who got behind the Tigers defense and is able to score his second touchdown of the game. 13 on the year now for the leader in the conference.
Yeah, good separation for Childress, and then really good job of keeping the feet in bounds. So he turned around looking for the pylon to make sure that he got the ball across. I mentioned earlier a bright spot now with receiving as well, but earlier in the first half with his punting abilities and hauling in both touchdowns now for the Warriors.
And Hendrix was an impressive 7-play, 75-yard drive in just over 3 minutes, becoming just the second team this year to score twice on the Tigers defense, joining the Texas Lutheran Bulldogs, who scored 2 touchdowns on them in the second game of the year. So impressive here for the Warriors, not to give up anything, fighting hard till the end. That's what Coach Buchanan said after the game against Berry. Even though they haven't had balls bounce their way the whole year, they've got to keep playing hard and manufacture that luck. You can see on your screen, Trinity still winning the overall battle, 452 total yards to Hendrix's 148. Really dominating the passing game, thanks to the likes of Tucker Horn and Will Cheney on that last drive. And you see the time of possession now evening up a little bit, but something the Tigers are able to do so well. Ranked 3rd in Division III in time of possession, usually have it about 35 minutes per game. Especially in that game against Berry that we didn't get to call. It was up in Rome, Georgia. But they held the ball for 40 minutes in that one, really keeping it away from the Vikings and providing the Tigers with what to date is probably their biggest victory, just going on the road against the defending conference champion in a game that really showed that the Tigers were here to play this season. That kick, little squibber, running horizontally and then pushed late there was number 82, Brian Rainey. So Rainey running a long way, but not getting a ton of yardage as he was going side to side. And then no penalty there, what looked like it could have been a late hit. And Will Cheney back on the field for the Tigers.
First down on the 24.
Heard a quick mention of his tenure at Alamo Heights. Want to mention that the Alamo Heights Mules are also 9-0 in their season, led by quarterback James Sobey. So Cheney and Sobey, 2 people I had the pleasure of going to school with at different times. Sobey was a freshman when I was a senior, and Cheney was a senior when I was a junior, as he's just a year older than me. So really cool for me to be able to see these Mules doing so well in their respective teams.
Important for Cheney here to get some quality snaps and some good reps, because Tigers, if they want to continue their season down, if anything were to happen to Tucker Horn, have to look at Cheney. So even though the score is 55-13, still some quality football left to be played here, as the group on the field knows that they've got to really put everything together and be prepared to step up and join the rest of that first squad should anything happen, and just kind of go from there. So, and everybody wants to, when they get a chance to step out on the field, it's their time to go and impress and show what they can do.
I think you're absolutely right, and it's something that Coach Urban believes the Tigers are prepared for, a quarterback room between Cheney, Horn, and also the freshman Ryan Back, that he feels are all mentally and physically prepared for the tough fights ahead. Had the pleasure of not only meeting with Coach Urban this week, but also sitting in with their quarterback meeting, and probably the biggest thing I got out of it is just how close these guys are. They have great relationships with one another, and each of them helping each other in that meeting as well. So I don't think the Tigers lose a whole lot as Cheney and Back come in. Then they've both gotten to come in several times throughout the year. And Cheney doing a lot of running here, doing a nice job of it too, as he scrambles there near the line to gain for the first down. Will be just short and 3rd and 1.
3rd down and 1 on the 44.
Third and call it a half yard.
Oh, no, 0% chance.
Royal will get the first down. Trying to fight his way to midfield. I don't know if there's one person that's been able to tackle Royal yet today. It's been 3 or 4, and usually the first guy that gets there is thrown off.
On the 49.
Yeah, not very many clean hits on Royal. And Royal just a first-year player from Lake Charles, Louisiana. So you've got to be excited if you're the Tigers to have that sort of power coming in from a first-year runner, and Hutchison also just a sophomore. So the running game looking strong for the Tigers. And Justin Carmouche now getting the carry here. He scored a touchdown earlier as well.
It is 2nd down and 5 on the 46.
Cheney stands in the pocket and nearly completes it to Fish.
Incomplete pass.
Fish had some room to run. There's a penalty flag back around the area of Cheney, possibly a late hit. We'll take a look at this replay.
Personal foul, roughing the passer, for 15, defense. 15 yards.
It is in fact a roughing the passer penalty on number 15, Nathan Hahn.
So that'll give the Tigers a first down.
First down on the 31.
That's about where that play would have been had it been complete. Might have been up to about the 27 had he caught it.
Cheney again looking to go across the middle, and this time does complete it. Brian Rainey, another first-year receiver out there from Cedar Hill, Texas, comes up with the catch and the first down.
First down, Tigers.
Rainey becoming the 10th Tiger receiver
On the 12.
to catch a pass today, and I think it's worth noting, mentioned at the beginning, we still have yet to see Austin Burtness and Ryan Merrifield, the 2 leading receivers for the Tigers. But even without them, Tigers have 10 receivers coming up with passes and 5 of them with touchdown receptions. Cheney somehow able to escape that massive pressure, scrambling to his left and then finding Jordan Jones. Add another receiver to the box score for the Tigers. And Cheney doing an impressive job here.
Yeah, it's such a hard throw for a quarterback. When you throw against the body. Looking more like a shortstop on the run.
Shades of Russell Wilson throwing on the run.
Cheney, 15 of 22 for 68% coming into this game. 2 touchdowns and no picks.
Cheney on the run again. This time just gets rid of it.
Incomplete pass.
He's added to that already.
That's his first incompletion. Had been 5 for 5, 42 yards and a touchdown. Tigers now over the 500 mark total offense. Last week against Swanee, Tigers earning the victory with 66 points, becoming the first time in school history that they've scored at least 60 points twice in a season. And they are knocking on the door for 60 once again.
Yeah, that's an incredible stat, as you mentioned. A lot of the high-flying offenses about 2 decades ago, it felt like they were routinely putting up 50 points a game. And they probably were, just not able to hit the 60 points mark twice in a year. And Tigers 1 play away from doing it for the 3rd time.
And they will do it for a 3rd time, and Marshall Fish, not content with just 1 touchdown today, he gets a 2nd. The tight end coming up with that catch as Cheney rolling to his right from the start.
Good job, Fish!
So the Tigers now awaiting the extra point that would get them to 62, but already over the 60 mark and upping that average of 46 that we had mentioned, ranked 10th in Division III. So might be passing several teams after this afternoon is over.
And if last week was the first time they've hit 60 twice in a season, I'd imagine that this marks the first time they've gone 60 in back-to-back games. So 62-13, 5 seconds left here in the 3rd quarter. Trinity Tigers looking to punch their record to 7-0 and wait a game next week against Birmingham Southern to decide the fate of the SAA title. We'll be back in just a minute for the kickoff here on the Tiger Network.
Blake Lynn on the kickoff.
Blake Lynn has been a busy man today, kicking both the extra points and the kickoffs after touchdowns. This one will be returned, but not for very many yards, as the Tiger kicking unit does a great job again. White not able to get it past the 20. Tigers up 62-13 as the 3rd quarter comes to an end. An impressive showing all around for the Tigers. 513 yards of offense to Hendrix is just 148. We'll take another quick break on Tiger Network as the 4th quarter gets rolling. Welcome back to Tiger Network. Hendrix starting the 4th quarter with the ball. Freshman quarterback Parker Wells trying to make something happen with his feet, but not going very far. But there is a penalty in the backfield, and Wells a little bit banged up after that run.
After this is the goal. Repeat first down.
Wells, the freshman quarterback from Allen, Texas, has seen some playing time this year. In fact, has more touchdown passes on the year than the starter, Holden. So Hendrix trying to get both of their quarterbacks some playing time. And Wells, on the last drive for the Warriors, led them on a 7-play, 75-yard drive that resulted in a touchdown to Chris Childress, who has scored both of the touchdowns for the Warriors today. Wells completes that pass. He faced a leaping Charles Gilbert, so he went the opposite direction to complete that pass. Will be 2nd and 11 after the holding penalty. Mentioned there's a lot going on campus today at Trinity. Currently inside CalGuard Gym, the Tigers taking care of business against the Shriner Mountaineers, up 2-0. That's on Tiger Network as well. Jade Schoenberger on the call. Wells with a deep throw, running to his right, trying to complete it to White.
We were talking about various records earlier today, and Tucker Horn, 23 of 26, 88% completion percentage on the day. That's going to jump to the top of the Trinity record book and will beat out Bryant Wilson's 2008 performance against Austin College, in which he was 22 for 26. So Tucker Horn going into the record book as the best single game completion percentage, minimum 20 completions in school history. Dan Desplaines owning that record, 18 of 20 with a minimum of 10 completions. So if you want to say minimum 20 attempts, still 90% is the high, but if you go 20 completions, now Tucker Horn into the record books. So the Gray Ghost 18 of 20 record for 10 completions will also be falling because minimum 10 completions, actually 90% is going to stay. So he'll still hold that record. But Tucker Horn had a fantastic day, only 3 incompletions, and one of them was the first pass of the game.
A very efficient day, that's for sure, for Horn. Now, like you mentioned, in the record books for a single game, and if he keeps it up, will also go in the record books as the highest completion percentage across a season in school history. Came in with a 70% completion rate and just did everything he could to increase that even more.
Anderson with the pass breakup there for Trinity. Forced the punt here for Hendrix.
And we've got a new punt returner. Chris Stewart no longer back there. Instead, it's Timmy Page, but Page gets nowhere near this one. That takes a favorable Trinity bounce in front of the 40. So the Tigers once again will take over in Hendrix field position. The Tigers scoring 66 points last week, so now over the 60 mark for the 3rd time. That 66-point output was also the highest scoring game for the Tigers since 2002. But with 13 minutes left and change here in the 4th quarter, plenty of time to add to that. And we've got our 3rd quarterback of the afternoon, freshman Ryan Back, first year from Austin, Texas. So we've got 3 Texan quarterbacks, and all 3 of them seeing time today. The first play from Back is a handoff to Gerald Daniels, the senior running back from
Gerald
Houston.
Daniels on the carry for the Tigers. 2nd down and 6.
Will Cheney finished his afternoon going 6 for 7, throwing for 44 yards and 2 touchdowns, adding to the 5 touchdowns that Horn was able to complete. Back hands it off to Daniels once again. He gets a couple of yards on that 2nd down carry. And it's worth noting, I think we can all see the score, 62-13, and understand that the Tigers have had some games like this all year, but there is still a lot to be gained from these moments. Coach Urban highlighting that every down you can get something out of. They're not looking to just throw a couple of touchdowns deep early in the game and get rid of the game early on. They're looking to fulfill certain scenarios and accomplish certain goals throughout, as the Tigers have higher aspirations than just an undefeated season. They want to clinch that conference championship. Then they want to make it to the NCAA playoffs with that conference championship and go deep into the NCAA tournament. And so with that in mind, having to practice all sorts of scenarios, like one he threw out there was a bad weather game up in Wisconsin. You never know what could happen, so practicing what that would look like. And so even in these games that seem to get away from the opponent, the Tigers still looking to accomplish certain things. So we'll see how they're able to wrap up these final 12 minutes as Daniels gets another carry.
Tackled by Braden Bice.
It'll be important for a lot of these guys to get some reps, especially Ryan back, as within 2 years, projected to be the starting quarterback.
And very similar to Horn in that he's a pocket passer with great presence. But haven't seen him throw much yet, just one pass attempt as Daniels is carrying the load here. 3rd down and 4 coming up for the Tigers.
3rd down and 4.
Go, Pierce!
Another advantage that Back has had this season is with only 3 quarterbacks, with only, might sound surprising, but typically some teams have even more than that. But with only 3, Back has gotten every single rep on the developmental team. So Urban has really liked that he's gotten to practice against a tough defense and going up against guys in live play every single day. That 3rd and 4 play coming up just short, bringing up 4th and 2. And for the first time today, we'll see the field goal kicking unit out. Blake Lynn.
Yeah. Southwestern showing on.
Clean snap and hold by Cheney, but that one goes wide left. And you can see the wind playing a factor there, as it is a nice, cool day here in San Antonio, thanks to the wind, but that wind affecting the kick there. So the score remains 62-13, and the Warriors will be back out there on offense.
This indoor facility, it's very
The field goal game, one of the few areas that the Tigers have struggled throughout the year. PJ Hensley had been 2 for 4 on field goal attempts, but that one was attempted by Blake Lynn. So trying out some different things there at the kicker position, but resulting in a miss. So something that the Tigers will want to get settled in on as these games get closer, if they do want to accomplish their dreams of a deep run into the NCAA tournament. Got official word from CalGuard Gym that the number 2 Tigers have shut out the Shriner Mountaineers in 3 sets. So another victory for the Tiger volleyball team, and they've got a great one coming up tonight at 7 p.m. You won't want to miss it. The number 2 Tigers host the number 16 Southwestern Pirates inside CalGuard Gym. A top 20 matchup between 2 teams that have played very well all year. Coach Julie Jenkins telling me she's very excited to host the Pirates this weekend. I'll be walking across the football field to CalGuard Gym to join Jade Schoenberger on that call, so hope you join us later tonight. Hopefully by the end of this 4th quarter, we can get you some swimming and diving and cross-country results, and say we're both in action earlier today.
Run by Hernandez. There's a first down on the 31.
Yeah, Trinity's volleyball team currently potentially in line as the West Region host for the playoffs. That'll be the same weekend that Trinity football hosts Rhodes. It's also the first weekend for soccer, both men's and women's playoffs starting, and both men's and women's teams currently are number one in their region, so they're both in line to host soccer playoffs. Volleyball's in line to host playoffs. Football will have a game against Rhodes. If you want to see top caliber action, November 12th through 14th, there will be a lot of it going on around Trinity, potentially. And we'll find out more next weekend as conference playoffs for volleyball and soccer conclude on Sunday. We'll see Sunday night, Monday morning, whether or not Trinity will be hosting for the 12th through the 14th in those areas.
First down for the Warriors.
I know I personally would love to host those postseason tournaments. I think it'd be a ton of fun here on campus to have all that great action going on. In the meantime, we do have some tournament action next weekend at home. Guaranteed, the volleyball team will be hosting the Southern Collegiate Athletic Conference tournament. So the top 6 teams from the SCAC will be coming to San Antonio to battle it out for the conference championship. So that'll be November 5th through the 7th.
The Trinity playing, they get the bye for the first round, so they'll be playing on the 6th.
Hernandez, the carry. Second down and 8.
I know we talked about this a little bit earlier, but just something that you and I really experienced last year, calling some games as the spring came to an end. You have to say that the energy on campus and at these games is completely different, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the crowd is thinned out here. I think the students have gone off to enjoy the weather that we have today, maybe get ready for the volleyball match later tonight. But it was rocking here earlier today in the gym. It's been fantastic. Down at the soccer field, it's been great. And, you know, there's a concert on campus tonight that I'm pretty sure will be completely packed. So lots of energy around campus. A lot of fun around campus lately.
Yeah, just the smallest things on campus, the waving to people, smiling at people and professors, and just hearing the buzz in the student center and the cafeteria. Just a lot of happiness has returned to Trinity's campus, something that we are so happy to have back. And I think everybody has been even more thrilled to be back and have these Tiger sports teams doing so well. The concert we have later tonight, Waka Flocka making a visit to campus, and a PSA for everyone that might be attending that concert. Might be a little bit biased here, but I suggest you go to the volleyball match we've been talking about before going to the concert. I think you'll have plenty of time to enjoy both. So you can watch the number 2 Tigers face an in-state top 20 rival, and then head out to the Waka Flocka concert, which is just across from Calgar Gym. So any students out there listening, come to volleyball, then the concert.
For the first down on the 39.
Senior night, got to celebrate the great seniors, 8 of them on the volleyball team, including 3 super seniors. We've got several super seniors on this football team, taking advantage of that extra year of NCAA eligibility that they gained due to the pandemic. Something Chris Stewart talked about as well this week of COVID-19 really allowing him to get his life organized in many different ways, including getting married this past summer. And so not only dominating on the field and doing well in the classroom, but now finding happiness with his wife, Charity, and getting married in July. And so he's just learned how to enjoy not just time, but quality time in his own words.
Third down and 9.
Scores of note here for Tiger fans. Middle of the second, Hardin Simmons at Howard Payne. They're tied up at 7. That one could be a potential first-round matchup for Trinity if they were to advance to the playoffs. And Birmingham Southern and Barry late in the first quarter still tied at 0. Sack here for Trinity, and that is Chris Pruski with the sack.
And that sack of Ryan Hollingsworth, the 3rd quarterback we've seen for the Warriors, another freshman in there, Ryan from Fort Worth.
Here's fourth down, 45.
So another punt upcoming for Childress. Play clock down to 3, but looks like Childress will be able to get it off in time. Another high punt. Fair catch called by Timmy Page, and then he lets it bounce into the end zone for a touchback. Tigers will take over with 2 minutes and 48 seconds left. And on the Hendrix defensive side, trying to see if he's out there. Haven't seen him yet today, but Tate Hooper, the sophomore defensive back, has quite the story to share. Earlier this month, saving a girl's life inside the Hendrix College Library. You heard that right. He was in the library writing a paper when he heard a noise around the corner, and it happened to be a girl having a seizure in the library. But Hooper did not hesitate. He helped the girl lay down on her side, checked her pulse, and along with another student, called 911 immediately. Then the ambulance was on its way and actually turned down the wrong street. Hooper and the other student had to chase them down, tell them where to go to the library, help them in. And thankfully, the ambulance and the paramedics were able to get there in time to help the student. And the paramedics said that if it weren't for Hooper acting that quickly, that girl, that student, may have lost her life. So Tate Hooper for Hendrix with a life-saving story earlier this month. Just some incredible actions taken, which he said he learned in his 8th grade health class, that he learned that when someone is having a seizure, you should lay them down on your side, or on their side. So a great story there from Hooper, and happy to hear that that girl turned out okay.
Phenomenal.
These guys are more than just football players. They're students, they're humans, they're people who have a lot on their plate and do incredible work coming out week in and week out, providing great games for all of us on Tiger Network and for the fans in the stands and the fans watching at home. So we're incredibly grateful to be able to call these games.
Yeah, it's one of the beauties of D3. You get a lot of, the student athlete, the student part first, but, go a step above, and, the work that a lot of these young men and women that are athletes, but they also put time into the communities, and volunteer a lot of their free time, which, quite frankly, I don't understand how any of the student athletes have a whole lot of free time in the first place, but, they find a way to make time. And, I'm sure on both sides of the ball here today, you could go up and down and see that, in a handful of cases where, these young men for this game making positive impacts in their community, and then coming out here and entertaining the fans for an hour of game time here on a Saturday afternoon.
That carry from Carmouche will get another Tigers first down, and it should roll the clock down all the way to triple zeros. So the Trinity Tigers, coming into today ranked 19 in the nation, will remain undefeated, improving their record to 7-0, 5-0 in SAA play. The Hendrix College Warriors fall to 1-7 and 0-5 in conference play. A phenomenal day all around for the Tigers, but especially offensively. Tucker Horn breaking the record for completion rate with more than 20 passes completed, going 23 for 26, 343 yards, and 5 touchdowns. Just another incredible day from Horn, getting the ball to many different receivers, including Chris Stewart, who came up with 2 touchdowns in the air, 1 on the ground on a trick play. And the Tigers defense once again showing their fight, keeping Hendrix under 200 yards, just 13 points on the afternoon. So another all-around great victory for the Tigers. Thank you so much to Reed, Elizabeth, Sophia, John, and Adam working the cameras and the control room. Without y'all, we wouldn't have a good broadcast. And thank you so much to Ryan and Josh for joining me today. For Josh Muchigemba, I'm Brian Janselson. Have a wonderful Saturday afternoon. See you later today at volleyball.
Coming up shortly, the Tigers will take the Tiger Fight Zone.